Can y'all hear me? Oh, it was already on. Okay, everybody, we're 1 minute late, so we better get started because we got to get home and go to bed. Yeah, and several have to drive, so anyway, we want to be conscious of that. I'm thanking everybody for being here tonight. And I'm Robin Hayes. I'm the Eastland County Chairwoman, if you didn't know. And anyway, I am going to ask Richard Watson to come up here and open us with prayer, please.
In addition to the prayer just for the proceedings tonight, I'd like for you to join me in praying for the people in North Texas. There's wildfires there that have already burned 250,000 acres, and so we need to lift those folks up and the people that are out there battling those blazes. So would you join me? Heavenly Father, it's a privilege to come before your throne of grace, and Father, we do come in behalf of the folks in North Texas. There is so much damage already. We pray for the towns that have been evacuated, and just pray, Father, that winds would settle and they could get the fire under control there. We pray for all the firefighters, all the emergency personnel that are involved. Just put your hedge of protection around them and just commit them all to you. And then, Father, for here tonight, your word says that it's when truth is declared, it brings freedom. And so, Father, we pray for truth to be upheld here tonight. And Lord, your word says that when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. When the wicked rule, the people mourn. So, Father, help us as citizens to do our part in this constitutional republic, to see that the righteous are in authority so that the people can rejoice and your name can be honored. And we just pray all of this in the name of the one who is truth, the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Now, if I can get Frank Bussey to come up here and lead the pledges for us. Everybody, you can go ahead and stand.
Pledge to the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. Now we will honor the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pay to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. And we thank you, folks.
Thank you. Moving right along. So now, please silence your phones. And, the restrooms, you can go out these two doors here that say exit on the right, and then turn to your right, and there they are on that far wall. Or you can go out the exit door in the middle there, go to your left, circle all around to that same wall, if you need that. And then, Pam White, the Precinct 1 chair, if you'll come up. she I don't mind.
Hi, everybody. The floor's squeaking here. We have a very active tea party here in Eastland County, and we have it at the Myrtle Wilkes building in the big dam room. And it's on the second Thursday in every month. So anyway, it starts, we open the doors at 6, and you know, you can meet and greet, talk to everybody, eat snacks and stuff, and then the program starts at 6:30. So we want everybody to come. We sometimes have videos, you know, documentary type stuff, and then we have political speakers, and we also just have people that are working for our country. So we'd like for y'all all to come, because it's very important to keep abreast of all the current affairs and stuff. So anyway, our next meeting is going to be Thursday, March the 14th. Ruth, where is she? Ruth York. How do you say his name? Okay. His name is John Guandolo, and he teaches about terrorism in our streets in our homeland. He graduated from the Naval Academy, served in the Marines, is a combat veteran. He served and was a special agent for the FBI, analyzing the Islamic threat. He was one of the first responders at the World Trade Center on 9/11. He's devoted recent years to warning Americans about the twin threats of Islamism and communism, and training communities to respond appropriately. So we'd like to see y'all there. Thank y'all.
That's also my mom. Thanks, Mom. And I know, do we have any other elected officials that aren't coming up here tonight? I know we have Judge Bailey. Right over there he is. Who is that? Is that David? Oh, David Hullum, our county judge. Thank y'all for coming. Oh, where? Oh, and JP, one, John Glenn, Jay Druzado. Some people aren't putting their hands up. He's a constable. Is there anybody else out there hiding away? Okay, so we appreciate y'all coming. And let's see. Now, I want to mention briefly, we have some papers back there on the table with the flags on it, and on there is printed about the precinct conventions and the county convention and the state convention. If any of y'all are interested in those, please talk with one of us and take a paper. I think my number's on there. You can give me a call. We need more participation in that area. Now we have Matthew Lucy. He's running for CD 25. We're not 11 anymore. I still have all the numbers in my head. Come on up, Matthew. He's going to have 5 minutes. And you're welcome. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Matthew Lucci. I'm running for U.S. House District 25 right here in the great state of Texas. Real quick show of hands. How many of y'all here in this room believe that Congress is upholding our conservative Christian values? I got some laughs. Pretty much no one here in this room. That means that y'all think like I think. Y'all think that a Congress that has not passed a budget since 1996, you think a Congress that has never passed any significant pro-life legislation, you think that a Congress that votes to give itself pay raises, while you and I find it harder to put food on the table, to put gas in the tank, and to put a roof over our heads, you think that's not working for us anymore. And I would say, y'all are right. It's time that we had someone in Washington, D.C. who's actually going to fight for us, someone who's actually going to come out to Eastland County, maybe tell a joke about Old Rip. My campaign treasurer knows in the back that I just spent this entire drive out here telling the whole Old Rip story. And he was more than happy when that door opened up as soon as we got here to kick me out. It's like, go talk to other people. Anyway, one of the biggest reasons I'm running, I've had the same congressman for the last 12 years, and congratulations, you have the same congressman I have now. In the last 12 years, He's introduced a lot of bills, but he's only ever sponsored one that became law, renaming a post office a decade ago. That's not working for you and I. In fact, here tonight, when we both had the opportunity to be here, one of us chose to be here, one of us did not. We've had 108 public events in this district since I announced my candidacy, and to my knowledge, he's had 2, maybe 3. That's not working for us here. Now, 3.5 years ago, I lost a close friend of mine to a fentanyl overdose, and that caused me to leave my job as a mechanical engineer and start a company focused on developing medical devices that would prevent people from getting addicted to the pills that they were prescribed. And in fact, I moved into my car for 2 years so that every spare dollar could go toward building up that technology and preventing people from having their lives torn away from them. Along the way, I learned so much about drug trafficking, about human trafficking, and about the situation going on at our southern border. And I saw that no one in Washington, D.C., and very few people in Austin were actually working for us at all on any of these issues. So after praying with my wife, my family, and my church family, we decided that it was time for someone to enter this race and to be pushing for those issues. In our district, today, there are over 2,000 children trafficked every single week for sex. In our country, there are over 300 people a day passing away to a fentanyl-related overdose. In my home county, that translates to about 1 every 2.5 hours. And I constantly get little kids come up to me when I speak in middle schools about the dangers of fentanyl, telling me, hey, thank you for talking about that, because my friend took a Tylenol and didn't wake up the next morning because it wasn't really a Tylenol. Congress is not working for us. Now, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to say that, my priorities are securing our border like anyone's priority in the Republican Party. I'm going to tell you that I'm going to be fighting back against inflation, that I'm never going to vote for a tax increase. I'm going to tell you that I'm never going to vote to kick the can down the road and mortgage our kids' future in the name of political wins today. I'll tell you that. I'll also tell you that I will be fighting to protect innocent life, because it shouldn't matter whether a child would have been born right here in Texas or whether they would have been born in Illinois. Their life has the same infinite value in the eyes of our Creator and deserves to be protected. I'll also tell you that I'm the author of the Congressional Pledge to Fight Human Trafficking that's been signed by dozens of candidates all across this country, because we cannot allow human trafficking to continue in our state or in our country. And I'll also tell you that I will be fighting to make sure that any veteran anywhere in the country will be able to walk into any hospital or clinic, show their VA card, and get mental health and physical health care right there, and it will cost only about 60% of what we're spending on veterans health care right now, because we keep kicking the can down the road. Now, every politician is going to come up here and they're going to give you a bunch of campaign promises. But I'll tell you what I tell all of our volunteers when we give them a list of doors to knock and voters to contact. We know what we've been getting for the last 12 years. Have faith one election cycle, and if I don't do everything that I say that I'm going to do, if I don't fight for everything that I say that I'm going to fight for, go back to those same voters and tell them our congressman failed us like our last congressman did. It's time to get him out. My name is Matthew Lucci. I'll be first on the ballot here in Eastland County. I'd be honored to meet each and every one of you and to get your vote. God bless. Thank you, Robin.
And now we have our current representative for Congressional District 25 is Roger Williams, and he has a representative, and his name is McCann Turner. And so he'll come up, and he will also have 5 minutes.
Hey, y'all, my name is McCann Turner. I'm here tonight on behalf of Congressman Roger Williams. He would love to be here tonight, but he is heading off to D.C. to do the work that you good people trusted him to do. So he sent a letter he wrote for y'all, and I'm going to read it for you. Dear Eastland County, I am sorry I am unable to be with you tonight. Thank you for allowing me to send this note. I look forward to seeing you all again in person very soon. I have fought tirelessly for the 25th Congressional District of Texas, and I do not plan on stopping soon. I am proudly endorsed by former and future President Donald J. Trump, and I look forward to getting back to work with him soon. In my time of serving you, I have fought to secure our border. Each and every day, I am pushing back on attempts by Joe Biden to tear down the wall, which would permanently open our borders and give amnesty to millions and millions of illegals. From my first day in Congress, I have fought to protect Americans from illegal immigration. starting by opposing the Obama-era amnesty program, and then by voting to protect over $5 billion to build a border wall. I've led 7 bills in this Congress to support border security, restrict asylum claims, and protect Texas from the migrant crisis. I'm the author of the Remain in Mexico bill that would make permanent the Trump-era policy requiring asylum seekers to wait for their court date in Mexico. I'm the co-author of the most comprehensive and consequential border plan in our nation's history, H.R. 2, the Secure Our Border Act, which has passed the House and would restart border wall construction, end the dangerous catch and release program, and includes my Remain in Mexico bill. I've introduced the STOP Act that gives Texas the authority to secure our borders and protect the lives of Texans and reimburses Texas for any state dollars spent on border security. The federal government can either take responsibility for the crisis at our southern border or get out of the way. I've made it clear I will not vote for any nonsense CR or any other funding trick authored by a Democrat or a Republican until we secure our border first. I am proud to be your chairman of the House Small Business Committee, and thanks to our conservative principles here in Texas, Texas is open for business. Under President Trump, America is open for business. But under Joe Biden, our American economy has become woke and broke. We need to put America back on track. This is why I authored legislation called the Jumpstart America Plan. Under President Trump, we were able to put that plan into comprehensive tax reforms that Biden is determined to destroy. My friends, we need an American economy that is booming. We need to make the Trump tax cuts permanent. We need to get rid of Joe Biden's woke job-killing regulations. We need to secure our borders, reclaim our national sovereignty, and we need to drill, baby, drill. We need to restore law and order. We need a military focused on protecting our nation, and we need a president that ends wars and does not drag us into endless ones. My friends, it is time to make America great again. We must stick together, fight like hell, and put President Trump back in the White House. I am humbled to be your servant. I ask for your continued support, and I look forward to continuing to fight by your side in 2024 and beyond. In God we trust, your Congressman, Roger Williams.
So now I'll ask Fran Rhodes if she'll come up. She's the president of True Texas Project. She will be our moderator for this evening.
Thank you. And let's go ahead and have Representative Spiller and Mrs. Kingsbery come on up and take your places as well. So, as Robin said, I'm Fran Rhodes. I'm president of True Texas Project, and I'd like to thank you all for inviting me here tonight to moderate this debate. It is my pleasure and honor to do so. For those of you who don't know about True Texas Project, we are a statewide grassroots conservative organization that had our origins in the Tea Party movement of 2009. We are still here 14 and a half years later, and we now have 18 satellite groups located all over the state of Texas. Unfortunately, we don't have one in your area, but you already have an active Tea Party group, so you're very lucky to have that. Please do take advantage of that. For those who don't live near one of our satellite groups, we've recently started a podcast. We call it TTP at Home. Our second episode of that will come out on Friday of this week. We're trying to bring the TTP meeting experience right into people's homes if they can't get to a satellite meeting. Please do take advantage of everything that we have to offer. We have voter recommendations on our website for over 80 counties. We have tons of video archives of various speakers that we have taped and recorded over the years. We have how-to videos, just tons of information out there that you are welcome to take advantage of. It's all at our website, truetexasproject.com. Okay, enough about that. Just a note about how things are going to go this evening. Questions have been submitted by HD 68 voters in advance. I have written setup comments for each issue and may have combined similar questions into one or enhanced some of the questions with additional information for clarity. Each question will be asked of both candidates with equal time to respond. Some questions will be allotted 2 to 3 minutes. It will vary on the complexity of the question. If a rebuttal is required, the other candidate will have 1 minute to rebut. And I have organized the questions into issue categories to help keep us on track and on topic. So to get things started, each candidate will have 3 minutes to introduce yourselves and tell us why you're running for the State House. And please include in that your top 3 issue priorities if you are elected to the Texas House. We will start that with Representative Spiller.
Thank you. For those of you that may not know me, I'm David Spiller. I'm the state representative for House District 68. I'm running for re-election because it is critically important that we have the strongest voice we can in Austin to represent House District 68. We need a strong rural conservative to represent us. I've proven that I'm that person. I just carried and passed SB 4, the strongest border security bill in the history of our state and our nation. It's a landmark bill that allows Texans to protect Texas, to send illegal immigrants back, and to prosecute and incarcerate those that refuse to leave. Obviously made necessary because the Biden administration has completely failed and refused to secure our borders and enforce current existing immigration policy. I also authored and passed the bill to restore felony punishment for illegal voting. That was Republican Party of Texas priority. I also sponsored and passed the bill to allow the governor to enter into an interstate compact with other states to secure the border, to share information, resources, and as a matter of fact, another RPT priority. As a matter of fact, we wouldn't have the razor wire that's on our border right now. We wouldn't have that but for my bill. I also authored HB 4006, the best bill to prevent China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran from owning property in Texas. We didn't get that one across the finish line, but I pledge to continue to fight and work to get that bill passed. Some of my endorsements include Governor Greg Abbott. We recently had an event in Jacksboro where Governor Abbott spoke and said, regarding the border, no one has stepped up more in the Texas House of Representatives than your very own David Spiller to lend a hand and make sure Texas was able to respond more robustly than any state has in the history of the United States of America. I appreciate those remarks. I also have been endorsed by former Governor Rick Perry, Young Conservatives of Texas, Texas Alliance for Life, Texas Farm Bureau, Texas Peace Officers Association, the NRA, the Texas State Rifle Association, as well as all 12 sheriffs of House District 68. What you need to know is that I'm the most conservative rural representative in the Texas House. This session I received the Courageous Conservative Award from the Texas Conservative Coalition, being named in their top 5 most conservative. I've been named in the top 8% most conservative by Texan for Fiscal Responsibility. I received a grade of 90 and in the top 10% for Young Conservatives of Texas, and also just recently received the Effective Conservative Award from the Conservative Roundtable of Texas. So this past session, I've authored or co-authored more Republican priority bills than anyone in the House. The top 3 issues quickly: border security, reduction in property tax, and securing our land from foreign companies. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mrs. Kingsbery, you're next. Also 3 minutes.
Hello. Is this on? Can you hear me? Okay, great. Hi there. So nice to see you all tonight. Thank you all for coming. My name is Kerri Kingsbery. I'm not a politician. I'm a wife, a mother, a grandmother, a businesswoman. I built a successful business. I've retired from that. I've handed over the reins to my children to run. So I am available and willing and anxious to devote 100% of my time to being your next representative. My mission is to restore the Texas House of Representatives to conservative Republicans. Among many conservative groups and organizations, I've been endorsed by Ken Paxton, Sid Miller, Grassroots America, Texas Gun Rights, Texas for Vaccine Choice. But this is not about me. This is about we. I am here for us. That's the only reason I'm here. The House of Representatives is run by Democrats. Dade Phelan was elected House Speaker by the Democrats who vote in a block, and then they only need a handful of Republicans to vote with them. My opponent is one of them. When you empower Democrats, you disempower Republicans, and that's been the record of Dade Phelan. Not only did my opponent support Dade Phelan in his bid for House Chairman, but he led the politically motivated impeachment of the most conservative Attorney General that America has. The Attorney General that we just elected by over 80%, the Attorney General that has been successfully fighting the Biden administration. That exercise cost Texans at least $4 million, and it cost at least 5 months' time that he could have been working to further our interests. He could have been working to further the interest of election integrity. He could have been working to further the interests that we all put him in place for. It's been said, when a man shows you who they are, believe him. My biggest priority when I get to the House of Representatives is to stop the appointment of Democrats to chair positions. If we take back the House of Representatives, we can get so many of our Republican, conservative values and the things that we've asked to be done actually taken care of. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Please. They deserve all that applause. It's not easy to run for office, so I commend you both for doing that. Our first topic tonight, we're going to jump into the uncomfortable things, is the impeachment of Attorney General Ken Paxton. Representative Spiller, you voted in favor of impeaching the Attorney General, and Mrs. Kingsbery, of course, has not had an opportunity to vote on that. So our first question on that issue is, do you support reopening of A.G. Paxton's impeachment trial, or would you support that in the future? 2 minutes each, beginning with Mrs. Kingsbery.
Thank you for the question. I absolutely would not support that. The impeachment effort that went on was without merit. There was not a sufficient investigation. There was no evidence. We had witnesses who, when they were under oath, testified to the fact that they went to the FBI without evidence. And frankly, I believe this whole thing was brought on by the Biden administration to stop Attorney General Ken Paxton. I would absolutely not support any politically motivated move such as this, and I would not support reopening this one. Thank you.
Representative Spiller.
Yes, let me be clear. I would not support any reopening. That's not going to happen. I wouldn't support it at all. We've already addressed that issue, and I respect the findings. Just as a trial attorney, I respect the findings of a jury. I respect the findings of the Senate jury, where they had to, the evidence had to meet the burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt, which is the highest burden in our country, and 2/3 had to meet that. That was not met. I respect that finding, and I have said all along I would encourage Attorney General Paxton to get back to doing what he was doing before and fighting and pushing back against the Biden administration with unconstitutional and improper government mandates, with executive orders that are unconstitutional, all of the things that he has done to fight Texas, I appreciate very much. And I stated on the House floor that I very much appreciated and respected Attorney General Paxton for what he did do for us, and I praised him from the House floor. That being said, I was on the General Investigating Committee that looked at the evidence. There was a substantial amount of evidence, compelling evidence. You might not have heard it all. The rules at a Senate trial are somewhat different than they are in a court of law. But I would say that it wasn't necessary until he came and asked for our committee and appropriations to fund $3.3 million to fund his lawsuit, the settlement of his case, but refused to answer any questions about it. He refused to go to the Judiciary and Civil Jurisprudence Committee to answer any questions about it. So although I had campaigned for Attorney General Paxson and carried 4 bills for his office this past, that's more than everybody else in the House combined, I couldn't stick my head in the sand when we looked into what had happened, and I was convinced that it was improper. And so I had to vote accordingly and vote my conscience and my convictions. But to answer the questions, no.
Okay, thank you. I had one more question on that subject, but I think you've both adequately already answered it with the first one. So the next topic is Speaker Dade Phelan and the appointment of Democrat chairs. As we all know, Speaker Phelan has a large war chest which he has shared with incumbent representatives who support his leadership. He continues to do this in the 2024 election cycle, and he continues the practice of appointing Democrats to chairs of committees, even though Republicans enjoy a healthy majority in all statewide offices. So, question number 1, and we'll take Mrs. Kingsbery first and Ms. Representative Spiller second, 2 minutes each. Have you taken money, excuse me, or would you take money in the future from Speaker Dade Phelan?
Well, that's a real easy question. Absolutely not. I've not taken any money. I can assure you he would not offer me any, but I would not take any from him, and I wouldn't take any from all the special interest PACs out there that would be trying to buy my vote. I am 100% funded by you all, and thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. You are the ones that I'm beholden to. You are the ones that I would always be beholden to. Thank you.
Okay, on the Democrat chair, let's be clear, because there's been a lot of misinformation. There have been mailers going out. There have been other billboards out there and so forth, and statements made that I support Democrat chairs. That is not true. I've never voted in favor of Democrat chairs. There's not one shred of evidence to that. I've never supported Democrat chairs. I don't think it's a very good idea. I'm not the speaker, but when you say you're going to go to Austin and make sure that that doesn't happen, that's not the way it works, because you don't get to vote on that. I didn't vote on that. I came in on a special election 21, then was one re-election last year in the last session in the new district. I didn't have the opportunity to vote on that. I'm opposed to Democrat chairs. I'm a Republican, and I carry a significant number of Republican priority bills. Why in the world would I want a Democrat chair in a committee when, frankly, I could chair a committee and do it a lot better? No, I'm not in favor of that. I've never been in favor of that. But in voting for the speaker, I followed the Republican Party of Texas rules that they asked me to do when I signed up. They said, we ask you to pledge plank 199 that says that you will go in after the election, when you meet in your caucus, and vote in secret ballot. That's to protect the integrity of the process, and come up with your speaker candidate. I did that. And when I came out, they said part of that deal was you're supposed to vote unanimously for that on the House floor. I did exactly what the Republican Party of Texas asked me to do and that I pledged to do. And by the way, the speaker, before I forget that, the speaker is not elected by Democrats with a handful of Republicans. The speaker was elected by all but 3 people in the House. There were 3 votes against him, 1 Democrat and 2 Republicans. Those 2 Republicans didn't follow what the Republican Party of Texas asked them to do. But I'm not in favor of that. I have accepted some money, much less money this term than I did the last time. Most of my funding is through independent donors within the district.
Okay, just a point of clarification. Nobody got to vote on Democrat chairs because Speaker Phelan did not allow that vote. So, thank you. If Speaker Dade Phelan wins his election in House District 21, will you vote for him as Speaker of the House? Tell us why or why not. 2 minutes, starting with you, Representative Spiller.
Well, first of all, if you believe Texas Scorecard and many of the other media outlets, Speaker Phelan doesn't have a chance to get back and is not going to win. So I'm not sure what we're going to do. But I would say that's a long way down the road. I'm not concerned with that. I'm concerned with me getting reelected, and I'm concerned with he's got his own race and his own issues. Those aren't my issues. I haven't endorsed him. He hasn't asked for my endorsement. He didn't. I mean, you know, so I can't tell you what's going to happen. There's a lot that will happen between now and January of next year. So I can't tell you what we'll do, but I would tell you that I would try to do what the Republican Party of Texas has asked and pledged me to do, and asked me to pledge to do, and that is to follow the Republican Party of Texas rules. And so I will do that, given that opportunity. But I'm a little bit miffed at getting beaten up sometimes after the fact when criticized for doing by Republicans for doing exactly what the Republican Party of Texas asked me to do and asked me to pledge to do. So I've tried to answer it as best I can. Thank you.
Well, let's hope Dade Phelan doesn't get reelected. Absolutely. But if he does, I will absolutely not support him. Also, if I'm there, if I'm in that position, I would be there because you all put me there. As a representative, what does that mean? I vote for you. I don't care what the Republican Party of Texas asks me to do. If they ask me to do something that I know darn good and well is not the will of the people that put me there, the answer is simple. Absolutely, positively, no. I will be there as your representative to do the right thing. That's why I'm running, and that is what I would do. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next question, same topic, and we'll start with Mrs. Kingsbery. If elected, would you sponsor a resolution to change the House rules to ban the appointment of minority party members as committee chairs? 2 minutes.
Again, that one's very easy. Absolutely. First thing on the agenda, my very first priority. And the reason is because if we don't do that, we're going to have the same mess we have had. Last year, how long was the House in session? Yeah, almost all year. It took almost all year to get very much at all done, and there are a whole lot of priorities that didn't get done. We are in the majority. We need to take control of the House. The very first thing we need to do is stop this handing it over to the Democrats, which hands them the power to close down our agenda.
Representative Spiller, same question.
Yeah, I would consider not only that, I would consider other rules that need to happen. There are a number of things in the rules that need to happen. We have many of our Republican bills, I won't say priority bills, because many of the priority bills we were able to get passed. Frankly, we've had the two most conservative, since I've been in office, we've had the two most conservative sessions in the history of the state of Texas. There have been none other, nothing close. If you know of one, let me know what it is, but it didn't happen. But I will tell you, in the same breath, are there a number of Republican bills, conservative bills, good conservative bills that didn't pass? Absolutely. Were some of them mine? Absolutely. The bill to prohibit China, Russia, North Korea, Iran, great bill. I looked to push that to get it done. A number of bills to give the Attorney General that I filed the authority to not get what we did before when the Court of Criminal Appeals took away his authority to not prosecute or to prosecute election crimes. A number of those things that I passed that were good bills. So there's a number of rules, including a substantial compliance rule to the points of order that kill some of these bills. And if we're in majority, and we are, and we should continue to be, then we shouldn't let a Democrat point of order, a bill, kill a conservative bill on a technicality. And my view is that's a huge issue, and that's the issue most people are overlooking, is that that's what kills a lot of these things. And so I look forward to looking at a number of things to streamline our process and improve our rules.
Okay, moving on, we are going to move on to another issue, gun control. So even though the 87th legislature passed the so-called constitutional carry bill in 2021, there is a constant attempt to pass new legislation at both the state and federal levels to curtail Second Amendment rights or establish limitations on those rights. So first question, starting with you, Representative Spiller. What is your philosophy regarding new legislation on gun control and knife control in Texas? 2 minutes.
Okay. It won't take 2 minutes. My philosophy is I support the Second Amendment, and I am fully endorsed by the NRA. Quite frankly, my opponent at first, she hadn't done it lately, put out materials and so forth, said that she was endorsed by the NRA. Incorrect. The NRA only endorses one in a candidate. They've endorsed me, and they've endorsed me because I've been very strong on the Second Amendment. I've been consistent on the Second Amendment. I will continue to be consistent on the Second Amendment, and I am not in favor of restrictions of any kind in addition to what we have now, restricting your rights to own, carry, possess, and use a firearm. As a matter of fact, if anything, I would like to expand some of the things with the Castle Doctrine because I just came back from a border meeting with landowners about 3 weeks ago down in Kinney County because of my border bill. Kinney County down in Brackettville is ground zero for what's going on, and these people are scared to death. They can't let their kids out of their house. They're afraid, and we can't. Those people are Americans. They're Texans. They deserve the right to be protected, and my job is to make sure that what's happening down there doesn't happen here, and to end what's happening down there. And those people, they didn't care about the landowner compensation bill. They asked a few questions about that. Most of the questions at that meeting were, when can we shoot? What can we do to protect our families? And I respect that, and I understand that, and I heard from them firsthand. And so I think that we absolutely need to expand our ability to protect ourselves as Texans, again, especially when the Biden administration completely fails and refuses to do so.
I believe we not only have the right, but we have the responsibility to protect ourselves, our families, our property, and we cannot allow anything to come in that by any restrictions whatsoever. Just look at what's happening to our country now. Look at what's happened to other countries. If we didn't have the right to bear arms, which is why we were really originally given that right, is to be able to protect ourselves from invasion. We have an invasion going on now. Yes, I know all about South Texas. The Kingsbery Ranch is in Zavala County, Texas. We've known all about how dangerous it's been down there. It's been dangerous for years and years. Everybody carries a gun. Everywhere you go, you have to. We cannot allow anything to be passed that is going to restrict our gun, our knife rights, our ability to protect ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Recently, major credit card companies such as American Express, MasterCard, Visa implemented a special merchant code to track firearm and related purchases. The new code will be used in compliance in California with a new law that will allow banks to potentially track suspicious gun purchases and report them to law enforcement. Knowing the power and influence of woke corporations everywhere in America, we expect this is going to try to come to Texas. Would you support any similar effort in Texas? 2 minutes, starting with Mrs. Kingsbery.
Absolutely not. That scares me to death. They are trying to control us. They are trying to control everything we do. This is just a tiny portion of that. They're trying to take away our ability to use cash because they want to be able to control and track what we're doing. You have to be very, very careful. You've got to look very careful at your investments. You've got to look very careful at everywhere your money is because they have the right now to shut you down. They can accuse you of something and they can close your accounts and shut you down. This is something that's going on in America. This is something we need to be very, very watchful and vigilant. We all need to start reading up and doing a lot of research and looking into this, because I'll tell you what, the Democrats are trying to turn us into a socialist, communistic country and control everything we do, and our monetary system is one way they're looking to do it.
Let me answer that. There's no way, if I'm your state representative, that that's happening under my watch. I'm not going to let it happen. And I'm going to tell you this. We passed other Second Amendment protections. People don't really realize that, but this past session, we passed some other things. Cities, some of these urban liberal cities were trying to say, well, you've got to have, they tried to pass their own laws. Now we passed HB 2127 that says that they can't preempt existing state laws in several different categories. But we also passed a bill that says, no, they tried to say that you have to have insurance on every firearm that you own if you live in that city. And we're going, no, 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 no. All that is an attempt by you to limit the firearms that you own. We're not going to allow that. We didn't allow that. There were other Second Amendment protections that we did. I'm going to tell you this, with all due respect to our congressional folks here, the federal government does not have the right to tell us what to do in Texas in many, many respects. We have the 10th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, and we now have a Supreme Court, thanks to Trump, we have a Supreme Court that understands that, and they understand, and they actually read the Constitution and see what it says. And the 10th Amendment says that whatever rights are not specifically granted to the federal government under the U.S. Constitution are reserved to the people and to the states. That's us. So federal government, you don't, the last time I checked, there wasn't anything that says that you get to regulate those type of things. You may want to do it in California or whatever, but you're not going to do it here in Texas, and we're going to prohibit that. I also was a joint author to HB 384, which was the Texas Sovereignty Act, which also puts together a framework. It didn't go anywhere, but I'm going to file it, be the primary author at this time, given the opportunity, and it basically says that federal government don't get to control it. We develop a committee, and if we determine that it violates federal law, then not only are we not going to do it, but it's illegal to try to enforce that in the state of Texas. I'll file that bill again, given the opportunity.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to border issues now. And I'm going to start this one with Representative Kingsbery again. I know she went first last time, but I'm switching it up. I'm in charge. I get to do that. Based on feedback, conversations, social media posts, et cetera, it seems to me that the top priority issue in the minds of every Texan is the crisis at the border. I think we can all agree on that. In spite of large appropriations of money, additional enforcement troops sent down there, and empty promises made by the governor and other legislator, thousands of illegals are crossing our border every single day, and none are being sent back across the river. So first question, in general, what is your philosophy regarding new legislation to support Governor Abbott taking action to control the southern border without federal support? 2 minutes each, starting with you, Kerri.
Well, we could have done this in the first session this year. That's when the best border security bill was really proposed. That bill allowed us to repel illegals from entering the country, okay? That bill declared an invasion. That bill finished the border wall. That bill mandated E-Verify. It ended all of the incentives to illegals. That was what we needed to do, but it didn't pass in the House in the first session, and that bill didn't get passed in the last session. The bill that did get passed is not a bill that allows us to do any of those things. It does not allow us to keep illegals from coming into this country. That's what we need to do, plus taking all of the incentives and doing all of those things that we need to do. How many illegals came across our border between the first session this last year and now? Because we still haven't gotten anything in place yet to stop them. So that's what we need to do. I would 100% support this. I can't believe we have to wait until the next session to do that, Let's just all pray that President Trump gets back into office and he'll close the border, and then we'll support everything that he does and back him up with it.
Thank you. Let me say this. When I came into this district, the number one priority in my constituents' minds and in my mind was border security. I've tried to lead the charge in the Texas House on border security. The very first opportunity I carried in the last session, HB 65, which is a variation of what I carried this last time. I carried the Interstate Compact Bill. I've already talked about that. I carried SB 4. We got it through, and so I'm saying that is number one priority. And as a matter of fact, the DOJ hates my bill. Every Democrat in the House hates my bill. Every one of them voted against it. But I fought it till 4 o'clock in the morning one time and 2 o'clock in the morning till the next time, and we got it passed. And it's a strong bill. No other state in the country has the right to return, they have the right, but they don't have the law in place to return illegal immigrants. And it's constitutional for several reasons, the way that it was drafted and the way that it was done. And I appreciated working with the governor's office, the attorney general's office, the lieutenant governor's office, the speaker's office, and everyone coordinate together to get the best bill that we can to do that. Let me speak to this. With all due respect, HB 20 was a good bill. I supported HB 20. Y'all know Representative Matt Schaefer. He's from Cisco. He's a great friend of mine. I helped him with that bill. I was a co-author with him on that bill. That bill had some issues, had some problems. There were several things that it did that I really did like, but some of the things that are said that was in there are not in there. There's nothing about E-Verify in HB 20. There's nothing about building the wall in HB 20. There's nothing about declaring an invasion. The governor's already done that. So with all due respect, that's not the case, but I tried to help him every way I could with that bill. So I'm happy to get done what we did get done, and I pledge to you all continue to fight.
Okay, Representative Spiller, you'll go first this time, and you've kind of already answered this question, but I'd like to explore it a little more because you were the author of that bill that makes it a crime to enter Texas illegally, and thank you for that. I think it was a very good bill as well. It is now hung up in litigation. Can you just share with us your thought process behind that bill? Do you think it's in violation of federal law as the lawsuits are claiming, and do you think it will prevail in the courts? And when you're finished, Mrs. Kingsbery will ask you to share your opinions on that particular bill as well.
Okay. First of all, in the
2
third
minutes.
just background, in the third special, it was under HB 4. We got it through. It went to the Senate. It died. We refiled it and strengthened it some more. I worked with several parties, and it was a great bill. HB 4, SB 4 were the same in the fourth. Out of respect of the Senate, worked with Senator Perry that time rather than Senator Birdwell, and we got it through, and they were identical bills, and so we carried those together, and happy to be the spokesperson for that bill on all the news media, Fox News, News Nation, Newsmax, all of those. I even went on CNN. They didn't like anything I had to say about the bill, but I appreciate that. Yes, it's constitutional, absolutely, and it is because we drafted it that way. Number one, it's not in conflict with the Arizona versus U.S. case. It's a 2012 case. What we did is completely different. It's not preempted by existing federal law. We stayed away from the areas in the Arizona case that happened there. It's not in conflict with existing federal law, and this is very important because we think, well, how come we didn't do this? How come we didn't do that? We tracked existing federal law so that it would withstand that constitutional scrutiny. So that's the reason that the thing is designed the way it is. We tracked it after for illegal entry, illegal reentry, and an order to return exactly the way it was in federal law that had been in place for decades, in fact, 70 years. So the federal government can't very well complain how unfair it is because it's not. And lastly, Antonin Scalia, Justice Antonin Scalia, the late justice, said in his partial concurrence that in that case, Arizona, but it also applies to Texas, has the absolute constitutional right and authority to protect and secure our sovereign and our border. And so, and quoted 150 years of case law to do it. So yes, that was why it was done the way it was, and I feel very good about it. DOJ doesn't like it, but we're gonna win that case.
Thank you. You want to share your opinion on that?
Well, I would like to clarify, the bill that passed was a Senate bill. It wasn't a House bill. He's in the House of Representatives. He didn't author the Senate bill. The Senate bill came out, did not pass. Mr. Spiller wrote a bill in the House. It was very poorly written. I watched him try to argue it, get it through the committee. It didn't get through the committee, so then they went back to the Senate bill and passed the Senate bill. Listen, I'm not going to argue with something that gives us a little bit of power, okay? I hope that it gets through the scrutiny. I hope that we're able to enforce it. It does allow us to arrest, but what are we going to do? Arrest 300,000 people a month? I mean, you know, this is not the be-all, end-all. This is not what we need. This is something, but it's not what we need. Why are the strong Republican bills not passing? It's because we put the Democrats in charge of the House of Representatives. They're winning, we're not winning. That's the problem. So yes, we're getting some things done. I give you that. Thank God for that. But we need to get real things done. We need to take this state. We need to be strong. This is Texas. Texas leads America, okay? We are fighting for America, and we have got to keep Texas if we're going to keep America. Thank you.
May I respond to that, because there were some untruths?
Yes, you can have
stated in that. Yes,
1
brief.
minute.
I'll be brief. That's not correct as far as the bill. The HB 4 in the third session passed the committee that I'm on, State Affairs, with fine colors. It got out of that. It got to the House floor. It passed the House. It got to the Senate. And the Senate, Senator Birdwell, who is our senator here, I respect Senator Birdwell, was with him on Sunday. He's a great man. I respect his convictions. He didn't like the bill. He took his bill and substituted the language of his bill into my bill. So much so that the Democrats in the third session in the Senate wouldn't vote for it anyway. The Republicans didn't vote for it either. So we came back in the fourth session, and they were identical. It passed again in the committee and did that. So to say that it died in the committee or to say it didn't happen, it did happen. That's all public record. And so I just think we need to clear that up and speak the truth about it. I understand if you don't like the bill, but let's don't make up stuff about the bill. The bill passed out of the committees both times.
Okay, last question on border issues, and it's a very quick, probably yes or no, so just give us a real brief answer. Do you believe that the governor of the state of Texas, or any other state for that matter, has the constitutional right and authority under Article 10, Section 1 of the U.S. Constitution to close the Mexico-Texas border? We'll start with you, Mrs. Kingsbery.
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Yes, I do. I think that they have the authority to secure our sovereign, as Justice Antonin Scalia did. It's as he stated, we have the absolute right and authority to do that, and we now have the U.S. Supreme Court that will back that up. It's different than what it was in '82, and so I look forward to that fight. The case that I'm doing is on appeal. Well, will be on appeal, I anticipate, to the Fifth Circuit. I've been working with the governor's office, the attorney general's office, and so yes, they will determine that we have that absolute right to do that.
The reason I brought that up is because we hear so much nationally on national news and other people in other states who just, you know, keep saying, well, the governor just can't do that. You know, that's federal territory, and the governor doesn't have the authority to do that. And I think, I at least personally believe, I think you agree with me, he absolutely has the right under that particular section of the Constitution. So we have to keep fighting back against the people that think Texas is doing a great job closing the border, because it's not closed. Okay, moving on, I think one of the hottest issues in the last session, and again this election cycle, is school choice. Opinions are all over the place as to why it's a good thing or why it's a bad thing, so let's take a closer look. First question, in general, do you support or oppose the school choice voucher/ESA idea as proposed in last session's legislation and supported by Governor Abbott? In your answer, please tell us why or why not. We will have 3 minutes each, starting with Representative Spiller.
I do support what we did for HB 1 in the last session. I believe that let me give some background to explain that. Yes, I do support it. I was on the school board in Jacksboro for 26 years. That's more than anybody else I know, and certainly more than anybody in the legislature. I support public education. But that being said, and I have a constitutional duty and obligation to adequately and efficiently fund public education. And I take those constitutional duties very seriously. That being said, I support parents. I want what's best for my kids. You want what's best for your kids. And in these more in urban and suburban areas, it's not as big a problem for the school districts that are in House District 68. We currently have 59 public school districts, 54 traditional, 5 charters. The 5 charters are doing an excellent job with what they're doing and aren't a threat to the other traditional public school districts. And we have 9 private schools. But I think that parents should have a right to make that decision. And they have a right to choose what's best for their children. Now, my position is, therefore, if we're going to have ESAs, and we are, it's coming, then my job was to say, okay, if we're going to do it, let's do it in such a way that it doesn't harm or hurt my rural school districts. So I worked very hard. I'm not on either of the committees, Public Ed or the Special Committee on Public Education, but I worked very hard to make sure that there were protections in there for schools like what you have in Eastland County. That's very important to me. And under that existing program, you would not have lost one single student to an ESA, not one. The reason for that is of those 9 privates, there's only one in the entire House District 68 that would have been eligible to receive funds, and that's way up in Cook County and Munster where Sacred Heart is. That's it. No one else will qualify for that. So I think it's important to say, okay, well, first of all, you're not going to be hurt, and secondly, you're going to get a benefit because HB 1, as it existed, put in an additional over $7 billion into public education. Okay, so that increases the basic allotment. Also, that basic allotment is adjusted for inflation. People aren't even talking about that. That's a big thing. The increase in the small and mid-sized school apportionments, which would also help my rural schools, and also we're talking about increased pay for teachers. And teachers, somebody said, well, we're not paying them what they're worth. We don't have enough money to pay them what they're worth, but we at least need to treat them better than we have, and they need to be compensated accordingly. So HB 1 as it was, and I also co-authored additional amendments to that, including to say that if you're going to receive that, you have to take the same test, currently the STAR test, as public school students do. So yes, I support that, and hopefully we can get something done and get the money into our public schools.
I do support parents having the right and the ability to choose how and what their children are educated. Absolutely. We should be making the decisions for our children across the board. I do support public school. I've gone to public school, my kids went to public school, my grandchildren are in public school, and those public schools are doing a great job. Some of them are urban. I think our rural schools are doing a great job, and I think that we should definitely keep protections for rural schools. My concern with the bills as have been written and what I think they're trying to force through in the ESA program is that it creates a new government arm, a whole new government bureaucracy being put in place because they're going to be calling this taxpayer money that they're turning around and writing checks and sending to people to allow them to choose what their educational options are. We should have that. It's our money. What we pay in property taxes and school taxes is our money. We should be able to keep some of that money. Whether that's done, Ohio does a scholarship system that parents apply for and are granted to allow them to make whatever choice that they want. They haven't created a government bureaucracy to oversee and to have overreach into private schools and into home schools. That's what I'm against, and that's what I think they're going to try to do. So here we are, we're going to have more government where we don't need more government, larger government, we're going to be creating this entire system, requiring everybody in private and home schools to take these tests. It's just another government boondoggle that we need to not create. Yes, parents need that ability. They need to keep some of their own dollars. We can craft a system to be able to do that. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. 33 other states have done this. Some have done it well, some haven't done it as well. Let's look at how we can do it well and just not pass anything called school choice, because that's the hot topic right now. So I think it can be done. I am absolutely for parents having options to do it. I think that most parents are going to keep their kids where they are. Their kids are thriving. The schools are doing a great job. But those that have a need to educate their children, otherwise, other options should have the ability and the means to do it without creating a government bureaucracy and huge government overreach to do it.
Thank you. Quick follow-up question for you, Representative Spiller, just yes or no. In HB 1, the Rainey Amendment stripped the ESA section completely out of the bill. As I recall, you voted against that amendment. Am I right?
I did.
Okay. Thank you.
I was against the Rainey Amendment, yes.
Thank you. Okay, next question, and we'll start with Mrs. Kingsbery. Do you support increased restrictions on homeschooling in Texas? 2 minutes.
I don't see a need for it. I know a lot of homeschool parents. We have a huge homeschool coalition in Cook County. We've got a lot of homeschool parents across all of our other counties. I think that homeschool is working very, very well. Compare homeschool to public school, where the government is very involved, and the homeschool seems to be doing a whole lot better. What we need to do is we need to fix the public schools that are having the problem. Let's not start fixing something that's working well. Let's fix something that's not working well. So absolutely answer the question, no.
Yeah, I support homeschooling, and I think homeschoolers are doing a great job. I support them, and I've talked to many parents in House District 68. There's a coalition in Cook County. There's a lot in Lampasas County. There's some in other counties. I respect what they're doing, and I respect their decision to say, look, certainly, if they don't like what's going on in public schools, whether it's in a rural school or not a rural school, they have the absolute right to educate their children the way that they want to, and I support that 110%. My concern is that if the state tries to come in and tries to do something with homeschooling, and I think the concern when I talk to parents of homeschoolers is that their fear is that the state will then come in and try to regulate that, will have a say in their curriculum, will have a say in all the other aspects of what they do, and that's the one thing that they don't want, that homeschool folks don't want. And I respect that. I will fight for them. I will fight for that right. My wife is a teacher of 31 years, and she taught in the public school system, but I respect anybody that wants to teach their own children and provide them whatever resources that they want or need to educate their children. As I said, I wanted the best for my kids. You want the best for your kids. I respect what you're trying to do, and the last thing I want to do in Austin is try to micromanage or oversee what you're trying to do with your children.
Okay, thank you. Next one, we'll start with Representative Spiller at 2 minutes each. Do you think there's a better way to provide parental choices in education than vouchers or ESAs or however you want to call those?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think it's a struggle because what we tried to do, or what the governor looked at and tried to do, was look, let's model this off of Florida, let's model off of some other states that have done this. But bear in mind, some of those folks, they've been doing this a long time. Because of Texas and the size of Texas and the number of rural schools in Texas, it presents its own challenge. And so I don't think that whatever we're going to do, we need to jump in and say, we need to do exactly what somebody else has done, because number one, they've been doing it for 20 years, and it took them 20 years to get there. But number two, I think that we need to approach it as Texans and say, we don't need somebody else telling us how to fix our problem. I think we got smart enough folks that we can get in the room and work on this and fix our own problem. So I don't want to look to someone else to tell us how to do it. I think that what we've done in the program under HB 1 was a very different and unique approach. And can we improve it? Can we tweak it? I think we're going to have to, and I think that we will. And I'm open to those suggestions. As I said, I offered several, authored and co-authored some other amendments to make it better. So I think that we can always look to improve what we're doing. And I think, yes, I think there are some things that we can do to make it better, but I don't just want to copy and paste what some other state did. I think we're smarter than folks in Florida and Ohio and every place else around. And I think Texans can decide our own destiny.
You know, I don't think we probably need to reinvent the wheel. I think we can probably do this efficiently. I think we can look at what other states have done that have done it well, and yes, then we can craft what'll work very well for us. I absolutely believe that we pay too much in taxes. I think our federal government spends too much money, and I think our Texas government spends too much money. We do not need to create another bureaucracy to do this. Let's look at how we can allow parents through an earned income child credit based on income, that sort of thing, to keep the money. If you have minor children that you're trying to educate, that you're looking for an alternate education other than public schools, you should be able to keep that money and apply it to your schooling. That makes the most sense to me. So I would like to look at it from that type of option. I think that that's something that we can do, again, without having to create a government bureaucracy taking our money and then giving it back to us, and, you know, then having the overreaching abilities to, you know, get involved in the areas they don't need to be involved in. But we need to take back a little more of our government, a little more of our money, a little more of our control, and this is a way that we can do that. And yes, we can do it. We can do it efficiently and quickly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And last question on this topic, we'll start with Mrs. Kingsbery, and you can have up to 3 minutes if you need it. But the question is, do you believe that current and past state funding to ISDs is adequate and fair? And I'm talking about the basic allotment per student. It's a 6,000 something or other, I believe. It's been that way for a long time. The education lobby is urging us to increase that. Do you think that that amount is adequate and fair to educate children in Texas, or do you think it needs to be raised? We'll start with you, Kerri.
Well, I think the first thing we need to do is look at what they're doing with the funding they're given. I don't think they're using it efficiently. I think that we have got way too many administrative level personnel that are making way too much money. Getting it down to the teachers, getting it down to the children is the problem. Now, they always want more money. Everybody wants more money. More money is lovely if you spend it well. But let's look at how what we're doing is being spent. And then maybe we need to increase it. I know that Texas doesn't fund as high as many, many other states. But let's just not throw money at the problem. It's like throwing money at other countries and trying to solve all of their problems. Let's look at how our public schools are utilizing the tax dollars, our hard-earned dollars that they're given now. Maybe that can be done better and more efficiently. And then if they're efficient in using the dollars well and it needs to be increased, then we'll look at increasing it. Of course, that's what makes sense. Let's have a sensible, realistic, answer to this problem of over, more. Too much in our society is more.
Thank you. Representative Spiller.
Yes. You've touched on a topic that I hadn't heard it, had a question all election deal, but it's a point of mine because I quite frankly think, and I've thought this since I was a school board member, is that quite frankly what we have, the Texas Supreme Court respectfully differs with my opinion, but in Texas there are several things that are unconstitutional. We don't have a state income tax, we don't have a wealth tax, and we can't have a statewide property tax. My position is we, in effect, have a statewide property tax as it comes to funding public schools in the state of Texas. And that is because If you look at it, every school district is forced to raise your taxes up to a certain level to be able, and you collect money, you send it to Austin, they do whatever the heck that they do with it, sanitize it, refresh it, do whatever, and they send you back what they think that you should have based on your weighted average daily attendance. And we also have to have the Texas Property Development Board that they oversee your appraisals. And if your appraisals locally aren't high enough, then they come in and they penalize your schools if they're not where they think they need to be. Now, number one, that's an unfair system, because when you do your appraisers and the chief appraiser does it based on January 1 of a year, by the time the state board gets at it, it's several months down the road. Well, if you've got a booming economy, your values are going up, they're going to be out of sync, and now they're penalized for that. That's a pet peeve of mine, and I think that we need to completely reassess and readdress. And I understand why the Supreme Court didn't want to do it, because they don't like going down that road, and they were happy to do what they did. But I think that what we have is unconstitutional, and I've said that for a long time. I think our schools need to operate more efficiently. Part of the reason we have all these different administrators is because it's our fault in the legislature, because over a period of years, we have required more and more mandates on local school districts, reporting, everything else. Some of it in the name of transparency, which is good. Some of it in the name of accountability, which is good. But I have looked at proposing a bill that says let's eliminate all these years worth of unfunded mandates and unnecessary mandates. We've got reporting requirements from 20 years ago that we need to do away with. And if we did that and did away with that, then we could do away with the excessive administrative cost and get more money going to teachers to actually teach children. And I fully support that and would work hard to try to get that done. But to answer your question, is I think I have a huge problem with the way that schools are funded.
Thank you. Okay, I want to talk about gambling in Texas just for a quick minute. There was a big push on in the 2023 session to make casino gambling in Texas legal. Most conservative-minded voters oppose this move, and Plank 79 of the party platform states we oppose any expansion of gambling, including legalized casino gambling. That bill almost made it through the House and only lacked one vote to make it a constitutional amendment. So, starting with you, Representative Spiller, I noticed that you received $28,000 from the Texas Sands PAC, a pro-legal casino gambling entity that is interested in bringing casino gambling to Texas. But you voted against HJR 155 and HJR 102, which were the constitutional amendments, if I got that right, that would have enabled that bill. So in light of that donation and those votes, will you please tell us if you support or oppose legalized gambling in Texas? And for Mrs. Kingsbery, same question. Do you support or oppose legalized gambling? We'll start with you, Representative Spiller.
Thank you. The
And
answer
2
is
minutes.
no, I don't support it. As a matter of fact, I voted not only against the bill and the constitutional amendment for casino gambling, I voted against the one for sports gambling, I voted against the one for the mobile gambling, I voted against all gambling bills. Now, I did receive, as well as about every state rep I know, last cycle, not this cycle, but last cycle, they were handing out money like candy and saying, we want to help you. And they came to me and I said, look, guys, you can do what you want, but I mean, I'm going to vote my district and I've got strong convictions about this, and I'm a no. I'm a no, I'm a no, I'm a no. And they said, well, we understand. We just want you to keep an open mind. All right, fair enough. So I did. I kept an open mind. I'm still a no. And I was a no. And I'm going to tell you 2 other things that are very important. Number one, I voted my district. Not only did I vote in accordance with what the Republican Party of Texas says, and what I think is right is no, we don't need it. But I also have constituents in Cook County, many of which work at Windstar and some other places. I'm voting against my district if I vote in favor of those things. So I'm a no, and I'm a no all day long on any of that. Now, I will also say what people don't understand is once you open the door to any of those bills, the sports gambling or the mobile gambling or number one, mobile gambling, you bring kids into it, and I'm a big old no on that. That doesn't need to happen. The last thing we need are more addictions and more issues that come with that. But the other thing is, with all due respect to the Indian tribes in the United States and in Texas, you vote that in and allow that in, you've now triggered under federal law, and you're going to have If you've ever driven through any of these states that have it, Louisiana, Oklahoma, whatever, where they have a casino on every street corner, and they would have them in Eastland County, they would have them everywhere. You don't want that. You don't need that. That's not good for Texas. It's not good for our district.
Thank you. Mrs. Kingsbery.
No, I don't support it. You know why. You know what the problems are. I know what the problems are. I live in Cook County. I can go to WinStar in 20 minutes. I know the problems. I know the trafficking. I've talked with the police. I know what's going on. We don't need it in Texas. And the Sands Corporation has not come to me to ask me to keep an open mind, and I would suggest that they probably not do so.
Okay. And this last question is just kind of a general thing. The World Economic Forum and the World Health Organizations are trying to silence truth, dissent, and free speech. If elected, will you pledge to stand against anyone, any concept or ideology affiliated with the WHO or the WEF? 1 minute each, starting with you, Mrs. Kingsbery.
Absolutely. I think we need to stand strong. We need to follow President Trump on this. He's been very strong against these organizations. He's very strong against those sort of controls, and we need to do that. Your representatives need to do that. Texas needs to do that. Absolutely, positively. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would say the same thing. I agree with Kerri on this. I'm an absolute no, and I don't give a hoot what the WHO, who they are or what they want to do. I'll be darned if they're going to determine what we do in Texas and what we do in our country and determine our policy. In fact, there are a lot of other world, global organizations that I don't give a hoot about. I don't care what they have to say or their opinion on anything. We have to protect Texas first and our country first, and we have to look out for us. And I'm tired of us having to pander to these other countries and think that we have to go along to get along. We don't. And we've proved, and through President Trump has proven through strength, we thrive as a country, and people fear us and respect us, and a little bit of fear is not a bad thing.
Okay. In the last few minutes we have left, we're going to do what I call the lightning round. Very quick questions. You get to answer yes or no, no comments. So have your microphones ready. And let's go with you first on each one and you second, Representative Spiller. First one, do you think the legislature has adequately addressed election integrity and that Texas elections are safe and transparent? Yes or no?
Absolutely no.
Okay.
No.
Good. Do you support the protection of all life from conception to natural death without exception?
Yes.
Yes.
Although legislation has been passed to ban surgical or chemical transitioning of children, that bill does not include counseling or psychiatric support of gender transition. If elected, would you support an additional ban on the social psychiatric transitioning of minor children?
Yes.
I honestly don't understand the question, but if we need to strengthen SB 14, we can. I'm not
Yes.
sure.
It would be, because SB 14 stops short of doing psychological and counseling for transitioning.
Okay, I thought that was covered, but if not, then
I
certainly
don't
we
believe it
can.
is.
All right.
Okay. Knowing that after each session, most legislators brag about it being the most conservative session ever. Say it with me. Do you think the 88th session was a conservative session?
No.
Yeah, I think it wasn't the most conservative. I think the most conservative was arguably the 87th, but the 87th and the 88th together have been, and I've yet to have anybody tell me otherwise.
Okay. And last lightning round question. Do you oppose putting a stop to all immigration, legal and illegal, until the border crisis can be controlled?
Yes.
Yes, I would.
Okay. That's it, folks. Let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you to them for coming out tonight. Thank you, all of you for being here as well. And thank you to the Eastland Republicans for hosting this for us. This is a great opportunity. Have a great evening.
Y'all can all leave, but I just wanted to thank Fran for coming. She lives in Fort Worth, and she has been our moderator before, and she does an amazing job, so thank you.